Welcome back. So up to this point, we've done a little bit with Vue JS, and we've gotten it to work to a certain degree. But in the real world, you're probably not going to hard code your data. You're probably going to have to fetch it through some kind of AJAX call to the back end. So even though right now we're still not gonna go to the back end because that would require us to write some back end code, back end logic. But what we can do is simulate it. So let's just say that we simulate loading the data. So instead of doing it the way we're doing it, where we hard code the students like this, let's get it from a callback. So instead of doing the students where we say this, where we have the students, let's set this to null, and the current student, we also set it to null. And what we want to do is we want to be able to load the data from, say, like when the application first loads up. So sometime after this loads up, we're going to load the data. And one way we can do that, we could do it from a button click, but normally you're not going to do something from a button click. You're going to do it from some kind of callback. And the way you want to do that is to some kind of callback. So let's see. Let's pretend that we have a function, and we call the function load data. And in load data, let's pretend we have a AJAX call, and then we load. So what we would want to do here, we take the students here, and we're going to hard code them here. But what we're going to do, we're going to figure out, okay, how do we load the data? Okay, and in order to load data, we're going to have some kind of event. So let's take a look at the API and see what that tells us about loading data. So let's see, data initialization, what is that? So we don't want that. So if we do that, so let's see. So in this case, the view next tick. So let's see what this says here. It says so we can do something like this. Let's see, I can't find what I'm looking for. So listening for events. Okay, let's see. That's for on click. We don't want to have to click to load. Hmm. What if we Google it? Load Vue JS with AJAX. Let's see what that brings up. Load data from AJAX call. Let's see how they do it here. So here we can see where they click something and it makes an AJAX call and then it loads the data. Um, I'm having trouble with this. Can you help me? Here's the view object. Okay. So let's see. Hmm. Load data. Okay. Oh wow, I have to sign in. I don't want to sign in. Let's see if we can find another example. Wow, that it gets a little complicated. One thing we can do, let's do this. Since we're doing this, let's go ahead and our let's take our code and we're loading data. And I want to be able to stuff the data in here, but I can't do that for some reason. So one thing I'm going to do here, when I do this, I am going to console log that data. Well, matter of fact, I don't even have to do that. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to run it. Let me run it. I'm going to run it with Chrome. So it's not displaying the data because I nulled it out. But if I do this, if I go to the console, so that's okay. What I want to do is I want to do the I want to log the app. So if I say console.log app, what does app have? We can see a view here, and it has this children array, and it has get current. What if we wanted to have this proto? Doesn't seem to help me. EL, that has the EL. I don't want the EL. I don't see the data anywhere. It has slots, which has current, and it has students. Wow. Let's take a look. It looks like I'm missing things here. It has get students. it has get, but it doesn't have the actual students themselves. Well, it has students here. So maybe that's the ticket. Maybe I can say app.students. Um, let's tab this in a little bit. So we have students there. What if we said app? What if we said app.students equals students like that, and then I call the function to load data. Will that work? And I save that, and let's go ahead and refresh this. Ooh, cannot read property ID of null. So apparently, it tried to render. Uh, it tried to render everything and doesn't have the data. And it didn't do it. It didn't load app data. But I didn't see data in there either. When we say console.log, I don't see an app data property. I don't see data. I see options. Let's go ahead and put data in it and see what that does. Let's see students. Just to avoid the error for now. Let's do that. Let's refresh it. Students is not defined. I didn't like students. Oh, that's because we don't have students. So we're going to do, we have to define students. And let's change all the names of students to a something, just to make sure that we know. So we save this, and let's go ahead and refresh it. And now it has students. So when I go to my console and I say console, where is my student data? We know AL doesn't have it. So EL doesn't have it. What about this guy? What about this guy? Well, it has data here, underscore data, and dot dot, but so does it have a way to access the data itself? And I don't see that anywhere. I have a way to set students, but I don't know what this means. So maybe I'm looking up the wrong thing. So let's say, what if I said load data to view object Vue JS. Okay, let's see. Let's see. So I have getters and setters. VM is not reactive. Oh, so we can do a set pass the object key value. So we can do it like this: view set and then some object. Where does some object come from though? So this is a way to do it. But when we tried that, it didn't work. So when we tried that down here, this didn't work. Load data didn't work. When we try to say app students, what are we doing different? We try to do app.students, and that didn't work. That's the way they're doing it here. VM message equals. So why is that? What if we change this to 5 and 6 and 7? Let's save this and try it again. Oh, it did update it. Okay. So it did update. It did update students because we have the data now. But when I did this, when I set it to null, if I set students to an empty array and we set current to just an empty student, save it and refresh it, I probably get some errors. It doesn't load. Did it load them? Yes, it did load them. Okay. So there it is. Okay, so it did work. Okay. So it does work. So load data, we would load our data. Let's assuming that this was some kind of AJAX call, comes back and we set the students to that. But what if we wanted to now delete some data? So if we wanted to delete some data, we would take and do something like create a button. So since we have all these records and we have this, and let's say that we wanted to delete whenever we got to this point in the details, we could add a button to delete. So how do we do that in Vue? We could create a button. We create a button like this, and we could create something like this. Unclick, and we can say simply, like we did the other one, we say delete. We pass it the student. In this case, we pass it the ID. We could pass it the current student, and then the $sign and event, And the reason I'm passing current is because current exists. So I can pass current and I can just say delete. And we have a button to delete. Now, for delete, we would need some kind of method to delete. So we can add that here in our methods, and we could say delete function. And apparently it doesn't like it. So we can say delete student function student and event. And I think it doesn't like it because of that. Okay, so maybe it's because of that. Okay, so when we have this, then we could take our list of students. And there's different ways you can do this, but one way for certain we could say um, we could find it, and there's a way to delete something out of JavaScript. So what we could do is say for var I equals 0, I less than students dot length. We could say this dot students dot length plus plus, and we could say if stu ID equals students I dot ID, and we take our action and we break and we remove that. And a way to do that, we could say students I. So how do we do that? So let's take a look. Remove item from array in JavaScript. So let's take a look at that. So this guy says, I have an array of integers, which I'm using push. Is there a way to remove a specific element? And then somebody's going to provide the answer down here. And this guy says index of 5. So once you have the index, this person says splice index and 1. Okay, so we can splice it. So here we can say splice, and we pass it the index, which is I. And we tell it, excuse me, 1. And it should remove it. And let's make sure we use this, the keyword this, and we say this. And so now we have our delete function, and it should delete any students from there. So we have the delete. Okay, we have the delete there. And we have a button to delete. And it's just going to call delete, and it's going to delete the current student. Let's save this and see if it works. So let's go back over here. Let's close this. Okay, let's delete Mary. And we delete Mary. And it didn't work. Let's take a look at why it didn't work. So when we go to delete Mary, we click delete. What did our console do? Let's complain about something. Compiling template. There's something wrong with our template. Current. Unary operator. I think it doesn't like the delete keyword, so let's name it delete student. Let's go ahead and name this delete student. And that should be fine. So let's save it. See if it gives us the same error. Didn't give us that error, so let's go ahead and let's go to, let's see, we got Joe, we got Mary. Let's delete Mary. Is not a function. Students I splice is not a function. Splice. Didn't like splice. How did we call it? Did we not call it correctly? Students.splice I. It says here that it is. Oh, wait. No, we have the correct thing. We have array, splice. Oh, yeah, because we need it off the array, not I. So we need to have it there. I was calling it off the individual element. So we're going to delete it like that. And let's go back. So let's go to Mary again. Delete poor Mary. And Mary is gone. So if we look at it, let's refresh it. So we have Mary, and we delete Mary, and Mary is gone. And let's say we were to delete Joe, we delete Joe, and Joe is now gone. So the only thing we have is, oh, but we didn't even clear that. So one thing that we have to do also when we do delete splice Mary, the thing that we would need to do is say something like if students greater than 0, that way we set it to the first element. So otherwise, I wonder what happens if we set it to null. Else this dot current equals that. We can actually say ID something, ID blank, first name blank, last name, and so on, right? We could actually go further, but let's see if it gives us any errors like this. So we have ID, first name, last name, this current equals that, and so we just have empty values. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's refresh it and see what it does. We delete Mary, she's gone. We delete Anne, she's gone. We delete Joe, he's gone. And it clears everything out, so we don't have any more students. So one of the things about it, um, what if we wanted to delete that? Now, in the case of delete, like where we have this delete function, we could go a step further and have an AJAX call to remove the student and so on. But you can see, you get the idea, and you kind of get the idea where we're loading data. You can make your AJAX call, and when your AJAX call comes back, just set your student. So we're pretending to do all of that and loading data after the fact. So the other thing that we want to do is clean this up a bit because our headers don't look all that well. So we want to make our headers kind of show up a little bit better than that. So maybe we want our header row to have to be called table header. And we can add some styling for that. So we can say, oh, what do we call it? It'll be class table header. So we'll call it table header. And we say font weight, thin, bold, like that. And maybe we even make it a different color, background color, background color. Maybe we make our background color something like a little bit gray or something like maybe BBB or something. So we make it that, and just save it and see what it looks like. So now we have our headers. Maybe we adjust our columns a little bit because we have column 3 for ID. Well, maybe we don't need that much. Maybe we need only 1 for first name. Maybe we do need 2. And then, yeah, let's leave that at 3, 3, and 3, like that. And same thing with this 1, 3 and 3. Save it. Let's see what it looks like. And that looks a little bit better. So now we have it looking a little bit snazzier. We may want to clean this up. Our button, we may want to style our button a little bit. We don't have bootstrap or anything, but let's say that our button, we target our button to be something different. So we can actually style our button. We can say button. And we can say background color. Maybe we want our background color to be, maybe we want blue buttons. So let's make it AA, BB, red, green, blue, right? And so this one would be EE, uppercase BB, EE, like this. And let's see if that affects our button. And I still don't like it. But it changed it a little bit. So what happens when we delete? It deletes nothing. Okay. So there you have it. It deletes. What if we wanted to show the details only when they selected something? What if we wanted something to hide the properties, for example? Like if we wanted to say, like hide this or that, you could do it with jQuery, but I think you can also do it with ridiculous. Maybe that would be for another post later. So if we wanted to delete, if we wanted to edit, we might have a pop-up or something like that where this pops up, but you get the picture, you get the idea. So that's just your basic example. And I'm not sure that we want to do any more with this. This kind of takes you through the basics. So just to kind of recap what we did. To recap what we did, we took and created a function to load data. Normally you would have some kind of AJAX call that comes back with the data, and of course you stuff whatever data comes back. And here's the app, and it loads the students. And the reason for that is because this is the app. So apparently when you have the app and you have the property, you push the data into this app students, and it knows that it's that. And we have a delete student function here, which goes through the students and deletes them. And it removes that item from the list. And so here we just look for it to see if it matches the ID, and we use the splice method to delete it. So not much to it. That's all there is. I'm not going to go much further than that for this. I think this has already gotten long enough for that, but you get the idea. You can do a lot more with it on your own. Play around with Vue JS and see what you can come up with. But overall, I think it's pretty simple to use. It's pretty easy, but it does get a little complicated once you start getting into other things that you wanted to do. For example, a true single page application, maybe we don't want to display all this data sometimes. Maybe we want to use conditions where, we hide this information, or we go ahead and add information, or maybe we have a form to input data, in which case we would do that. But I think that would be a good, actually, adding a record would be a good exercise to complete the CRUD. So let's do that on the next tutorial. Next tutorial we'll do we'll have it add a student into the list. So let's try it for next time. Well, for now, thanks for watching. And oh, by the way, when I post this video and the other videos, if you watch video 1 and video 2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the links, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this code to a repo on GitHub. So just keep your eye out for it. I'll set up the link and you can download it from there. Thanks for watching.